The winter wind cut through the narrow streets of Milwaukee that evening, carrying with it the kind of cold that felt personal, sharp, and unforgiving. Inside a small neighborhood grocery store, the fluorescent lights flickered weakly as a young boy named Noah Carter, only 10 years old, stood frozen with fear in his wide, tired eyes. His thin hands clutched a small basket filled with bread, instant soup packets, and a bottle of medicine he hoped he could somehow afford. When the store manager reached toward the basket, ready to take it away, Noah's voice cracked in desperation, trembling from a place deeper than hunger. What came out was not loud, but powerful enough to stop even the cold wind outside, a plea from a child who had endured too much for his age. In that fragile moment, a man standing behind him, a single father who was also the CEO of one of the city's biggest companies, heard words that would change both their lives forever. "Please don't take our food, my mom is sick. If you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue telling emotional stories like this." Noah's voice echoed faintly in the quiet store, and the man behind him, Jonathan Reeves, a 42-year-old single dad known for his disciplined leadership, felt something inside him shift. Jonathan had come to the store straight from the office, still wearing his dark coat and carrying the weight of a long day, but nothing he had dealt with compared to what he saw now, a child who looked exhausted, worried, and far too familiar with hardship. Jonathan noticed the boy's worn sneakers, the patched knees of his jeans, and the faint dusting of flour on his sleeves, likely from doing chores at home. He also noticed something deeper, survival instinct mixed with innocence, a combination no child should ever have to carry. The store manager, unaware of the storm unfolding inside the boy's heart, talked about rules, about procedures, about unpaid items and store policy, all without ever looking long enough into Noah's eyes to see the fear behind them. Yet Jonathan saw it instantly. He saw the tremble in the boy's lip, the way he hugged the basket closer, not out of defiance but out of a desperate need to care for someone he loved more than himself. Jonathan knew the feeling. He had spent years raising his daughter alone, navigating loss and responsibility with nothing but determination to guide him. Something about Noah felt painfully familiar, as if he was looking at a younger version of his own child, vulnerable, frightened, but still trying to be brave. Jonathan quietly stepped forward and told the manager he would take care of everything, but he didn't leave the store immediately. Instead, he gently asked the boy where he lived, and Noah answered with hesitant honesty, explaining that his mother had been too sick to work for weeks and that their electricity had been cut off 2 nights ago. His voice shook when he admitted he had been skipping school to watch over her, and that the food he was trying to buy was the last of his savings, money he'd collected by shoveling snow in the neighborhood. Jonathan listened with the stillness of someone who understood the gravity of pain. He felt an ache rise in his own chest, remembering the nights he had spent desperately trying to keep life steady for his daughter after his wife passed away. He knew what it meant to drown quietly while pretending to be strong. When they stepped out into the freezing night, Jonathan offered to drive Noah home. The boy hesitated but eventually agreed, more out of exhaustion than trust. When they reached the address, Jonathan's breath caught. The house looked abandoned, peeling paint, dark windows, and a small porch covered in snow. Noah rushed inside and called for his mother, and Jonathan followed cautiously, the dim light from the hallway revealing a frail woman named Sarah, in her mid-30s, pale and trembling under layers of blankets. Her cough was deep and painful, and her vision blurred as she tried to sit up. The sight tightened something around Jonathan's heart. The house was cold, the air heavy and lifeless, and the only warmth came from the boy who kept trying to care for his mother with the strength of someone far older than 10. Jonathan realized instantly that this wasn't a situation of irresponsibility, this was survival in its rawest form. He stayed longer than he planned, helping Noah warm up some food, checking the leaking windows, and making sure Sarah could swallow the medicine. It felt wrong to leave them like this, not when everything inside him screamed that they needed help beyond temporary comfort. That night, Jonathan drove home in silence, the warmth of his car contrasting painfully with the memory of the cold house he had just left behind. His daughter, Hannah, greeted him with a hug the moment he walked in. As he told her, carefully, gently, what had happened, she insisted they help. She was just 14, but she understood, perhaps better than most adults, the importance of compassion. Jonathan realized then that doing nothing would haunt him more than anything he had done in his career. The next morning, he didn't go to the office. Instead, he made calls, doctors, electricians, a cleaning service, and a trusted HR coordinator. By noon, he was knocking gently on Noah's door again, this time with solutions instead of questions. Sarah didn't understand at first why a stranger would care so much, but Jonathan explained softly that he had once been in a similar place and that someone had helped him when he needed it most. Now it was his turn. He arranged medical care for Sarah, made sure the electricity was restored, filled the kitchen with groceries, and offered her a flexible part-time job in his company once she recovered. For Noah, he arranged tutoring and school support so he wouldn't fall behind. The boy tried to hold back tears but failed, and Jonathan placed a steady hand on his shoulder, silently promising him that life was about to get better. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep emotional stories like this alive. Before the ending, please comment below what part of the story moved you the most. As weeks passed, the house transformed, warm lights glowed from the once dark windows, laughter replaced the painful silence, and hope slowly returned to a family that had almost lost everything. Jonathan visited often, bringing his daughter along, and a bond formed that felt like destiny. What began with a desperate plea from a frightened boy turned into a moment that changed multiple lives. And in the end, Noah's story became a reminder that sometimes all it takes is one act of compassion from a stranger to turn winter into spring, fear into safety, and brokenness into something whole again.